We saw 3 last night. It began with Alcides Escobar, who is not known for home runs. He set the stage with a 2-run home run. The Rangers didn't have a hit until the 6th inning, and Adrian Beltre hit a 3-run home run to tie the game. And then Mike Napoli coming off the bench, his 2nd career pinch hit home run, and the Texas Rangers took game 1 5-3. Welcome back to the ballpark with CJ Nitkowski. I'm Ryan Lefevre. These are 2 teams who have underachieved so far this year, but they have a lot of playoff experience, and they've had a lot of success in the second half.
A slow starts are really both of these clubs when you look at it, but now you start to look at, okay, well, what about the second half of the season, and can they find their way back to the postseason? Well, in the case of the Texas Rangers, the 2-time defending American League West champions, there is an opportunity. Now it's going to be most likely in the wild card. The Houston Astros are running away with the division, but they're right there in the thick of things, just 2 games back. You start looking now at the Royals, of course, the 2015 World Series champs. A lot of people wondering, would this be a year that the Royals would have a big sell-off with all those pending free agents? Well, they've played some really good baseball as of late, and they're not only in a wild card hunt, they actually have a chance to maybe catch the Indians in the division.
And the Texas Rangers the last 2 years have been the 2nd best team in the American League in the second half, and that all started at the trading deadline 2 years ago when they acquired Cole Hamels.
And now they have him, and he's back, and he's healthy, and that is some good news. Ranger fans are very familiar with what Cole Hamels has done since he has been in that Texas Rangers uniform, and this year he's been exceptional. The last 2 starts since coming off the DL, he has been great, but really doing an unbelievable job against lefties. Check out those numbers there. Just a 161 batting average against. It's the breaking ball, the big one that it can use down or away, but it's also the fastball. It is also the cutter. So he has done an excellent job against these lefties, and that's going to matter in this game because there are a couple of lefties in the lineup, and especially a good one in Mike Moustakas. He has really improved as far as what he has done against lefties this year. You see the 262 batting average for him. He came into the season for his career hitting just .234 against lefties with 20 home runs. Well, he has 7 already this year, so he has made some big improvements to his prep, his game plan as well, and it has really paid off against lefties. So Cole Hamels will have to deal with him.
That'll be a great individual matchup to keep an eye on. As far as the 2 teams, CJ, what are our 4 keys to the game?
Well, I'll tell you this, we're going to go with a little bit of glove is in the air for the Kansas City Royals. Why? They are leading Major League Baseball right now in fielding percentage. Always a good defensive club here. That will be key for them. And then looking at the Rangers side of things, how the left was won. Danny Duffy, of course, the lefty going up against this Ranger lineup. 3 lefties in Chu, Mazzara, and Odor tonight. Those at bat should be good ones, important ones, and we're going to see one of those right away here to start the game.
Texas Rangers are scoring almost 6 runs per game in July, and they have 7 players on the roster with 12 or more home runs before the All-Star break. The last time that happened was 2005, also the Texas Rangers. And tonight, speaking of pitchers coming off the disabled list, they will get a look at Danny Duffy, who missed 35 games, similar to Cole Hamels with an oblique injury. And Duffy gets a left-hand batter to begin the game, and he is on the outside corner for a strike to Shin-Soo Choo.
Let's take a look at the arsenal here for Danny Duffy, the lefty who works exclusively out of the stretch. 50% of the pitches you'll see or have been fastballs so far this season, averaging around 93 miles an hour. He pretty much splits the slider and the changeup. He is a very true 3-pitch pitcher, and he splits those pitches up kind of equally, half fastballs and half on the other breaking pitches.
1-1 on Chu. You had mentioned pitching out of the stretch exclusively. That began last year when he started the season coming out of the bullpen, and when he was inserted back to the rotation, was working so well he decided to stay pitching out of the stretch.
And it makes sense. You know, it really does. We see Yu Darvish do it. We've seen other guys go to the stretch a little bit more and exclusively starting pitchers. People think it's kind of odd, but whatever works, whatever it takes to get things done.
Easy play for Hosmer, and Shin-Soo Choo is out number 1.
Take a look at the season numbers here for Danny Duffy. 13 starts. Of course, we mentioned that he had missed a little bit of time with that strained right oblique, but he's been very good for this team. Good strikeout to walk ratio, very respectable batting average against, and he's done a nice job of keeping the ball in the ballpark. Yes, this is a great place to pitch, of course, but 7 home runs allowed. Only 1 of those to a left-handed hitter this year.
So a great place to pitch because of the dimensions, and CJ, great place to pitch right now because of those shadows.
Now you love this as a pitcher. Very difficult as a hitter because the ball's going to go from dark to light and then back to dark again. So not even shadows, but kind of unique shadows. It's one thing when you have a pitcher going, say, from dark to light or whatever, or vice versa, where it's just one. Well, this is going to go in, go out, and then come back into the darkness for these hitters here. Probably, I don't know, maybe for what, maybe 30, 45 minutes or so.
1-0 on Elvis Andrus. And now 2 balls and no strikes. Okay, let's get into the pitcher's mind as we look at Andrus, who had a tremendous first half, did not make the All-Star team. Now from the booth, it's easy to say the pitcher should be taking full advantage of these shadows. And how does that translate? What's more effective, off speed or fastballs with the shadows?
Well, I think anything spinning is probably a little bit tougher for those hitters to see. So thinking about the breaking ball. But what I think it also, the advantage is that it maybe gives you a little bit more confidence to stay in the zone, not shoot at the corners as much, and saying, you know what, not that you're going to split the plate and throw everything down the middle, but you know it's difficult to see that baseball right now. Don't worry about working corners. Even if you miss with a spot, it might be a little bit tougher to square up if the hitter's having a tough time picking up the spin on the baseball.
Three and one on Andrus. We had some intrigue the first half of the game last night. Jason Hamill, the Royals starter, had 5 1/3 hitless innings, and the Royals had a 3-0 lead, and then Andrus put an end to that with a base hit off of Hamill's glove. Then a single by Mazzara and the 3-run home run by Beltre to tie the game. Toward the left field corner, Alex Gordon, the Gold Glover, climbs the wall, and it's back into the crowd.
And it was interesting too because that hit wasn't much of a hit necessarily. And Jason Hamill's pitch count had gone up pretty high. And here's that first hit for the Rangers last night. He was dealing. The pitch count was up there a little bit, but this is how the no-hitter got broke up. Ultimately, that little bleeder, and it actually went off the glove of Jason Hamill as well. And we were saying on the other side, you know, just a matter of breaking through with Jason Hamill if you could string a couple of hits together. And sure enough, the Rangers did exactly that.
3-2 on Andrus with Beltre on deck. Changeup is pulled foul. Down to third base coach Tony Beasley. Good to see him back in the third base coach's box this year after a battle with cancer last season.
One of the great guys of the game, so you have a hard time finding Tony Beasley not smiling, not in a good mood. Always a kind word to say, but you're right, this organization is certainly thrilled to have him back on the field every day.
Off speed again. So getting back to CJ's point, this is not Danny Duffy from a couple of years ago where fastball after fastball after fastball, he's really going to mix his pitches, and Andrus was looking fastball 3-2.
And he went with the changeup, and you know the speed differential is really what the key is, as you get a really nice look at the grip. Yeah, it was up and it was over the plate, but it's at 84 miles an hour. It's a difference off the fastball, and Elvis Andrus probably thinking after already saw one 3-2 changeup, probably seen a fastball here was not the case, and he was caught out front.
So Beltre with 2 down and nobody on. Had an interesting at bat when he hit the 3-run home run in the 6th inning last night. Fouled a ball off of his body and was in tremendous pain. It took him a while to get back into the box, and wouldn't you know, on the very next pitch he hit the 3-run home run to tie the game.
So Adrian Beltre, right? I mean, always something a little funny, goofy happening as he caught himself a slider in the middle of the plate. This home run tied the game at 3. And it has been huge for him to be back and be healthy. Missed nearly the first 2 months of the season dealing with a calf injury. He was really missed in that lineup. Also in the clubhouse, even though he was around, it's not quite the same when you're in the lineup every day. All of these guys really, really look up to Adrian Beltre. You should see where he ranks. All-time leaders in home runs. Been an incredible career, and he is still going strong.
Perez with a low target for Duffy. It's out over the plate, but Beltre pops it up. And Lorenzo Cain waits in center field. Danny Duffy gets the Rangers 1-2-3 in the top of the first. Well, the Kansas City Royals are not quite hitting home runs at the pace of the Rangers, but for their standards, a record rate, more home runs in the first half than any other season. Both Salvador Perez and Mike Moustakas have a good shot at breaking the individual home run record, 36 in a season, way back in 1985 by Steve Balboni. Moustakas has 25, Perez has 18. And this is Whit Merrifield taking high from Cole Hamels.
Now we'll take a look at Cole Hamels, the arsenal that he uses. He's a little bit more of a true four-pitch pitcher in the sense that you will see the changeup, the cutter, and the curveball to go along with the fastball. Very similar velocities to Danny Duffy. And the strikeouts have really picked up over his last couple of starts. The strikeout rate was very low for him, and it is still low when you look at it overall, just 4.9 per 9 innings. He is much higher than that over the course of his career. But the last 2 starts, he has looked really sharp and like the old Cole Hamels.
Two and one on Merrifield. Last night in game 1, had 2 hits and a run scored. He has taken over as the Royals' everyday second baseman. The season began with their top prospect, Raul Mondesi, at second base. He's back in AAA. 2-2.
Yeah, Mondesi, of course, of the first hit in the big leagues in the World Series fame, right, from a couple of years ago. But yes, things have been a lot different here now in Kansas City at the top of the lineup when you look at Merrifield and Bonifacio and really what this offense has done. They have a very nice 1-2 combo up top.
One hop to Beltre, 1 down.
And let's take a look at the Ranger defense and what will be behind Cole Hamels tonight. You just saw Adrian Beltre make that play. Elvis Andrus Odor Napoli finish out the infield. Left field here in Texas, a lot of different guys getting opportunities. Nomar Mazara at times has been out there even though he is in left. You see Drew Robinson got a start last night in left field as well. Ryan Rua earlier. So just a lot of different left fielders for the Rangers. You see Delano DeShields getting an opportunity there tonight. They actually started the season, opened the season with a 3-man platoon. Jurickson Profar was the guy for a while as well. So a lot of turnover in left field in Texas this season.
Ball 1 to rookie Jorge Bonifacio, the younger brother of longtime big leaguer Emilio Bonifacio, who also spent some time in Kansas City. Into right field, which is tough right now with the sun, but Mazara able to pick it out and make the play for out number 2. Let's get back to the Rangers defense. CJ, you see them every day. The advanced metrics will tell you that this is a better Rangers defensive team compared to last year. Is there one area in particular that's improved?
Well, you know, obviously having Adrian Beltre healthy every day is really big. So you're looking at the infield, and for the most part, it's pretty much the same. Go ahead and swipe out Mike Napoli for Mitch Moreland, who, of course, was a plus defender. But I think when you can take a guy like Delano DeShields and put him in left, a guy who really could play center field, he has the speed for it. A full year of Carlos Gomez, who does a nice job in center field as well. And now Nomar Mazara, second year under his belt. So you're seeing, I think, some guys that are getting some steadier playing time on this Ranger team that did not a year ago. That's probably helped in the outfield. And then, of course, Jonathan Lucroy does a very nice job behind home plate.
This is Lucroy's first game in the second half. Robinson Chirinos, who's had a really good first half for the Rangers, was back at the plate last night.
He has been great. 12 home runs for Robinson Chirinos. There he is already. His career high is 13.
Look out. And Chirinos, everybody in the Ranger dugout, and Lorenzo Cain wanting to make sure that nobody was injured on that line drive. There are not many empty seats in the lower bowl tonight, but that ball fortunately found one. Changeup, hard to pick up for hitters on both sides in the early innings. Hamels gets his first strikeout, no score. Mike Napoli digs in to begin the top of the second inning, and boy did he dig in the seventh inning last night as a pinch hitter. And Jeff Bannister moves him up in the batting order tonight, not just because of the home run last night, but because of what he's done against lefties in his last 18 games. 6 home runs.
And not surprising at all for Mike Napoli to see him slugging against left-handed pitching. This is something he has done throughout his career. Came up in a big pinch hit spot last night, hit that home run 444 feet.
Both hitters in the early innings are having a tough time picking up the changeups. 1-1 on Napoli.
That was a good one from Danny Duff. We saw a good one as well from Cole Hamels. I mean, really, this is kind of perfect baseball, right? Give me 2 lefties. I mean, this is pretty much what people want to see.
Big ballpark,
yeah,
difficult shadows.
Well, really, it's just about the lefties, Ryan, to be honest. But yeah. But it's fun to watch because also good fastballs in an era of where we have a lot of high velocity, but not extraordinarily hard fastballs. You're going to watch 2 guys, they're going to pitch. And you see the average right there for Danny Duffy against the changeup. Such an important pitch for him to try to neutralize right-handed hitters.
Up and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I wouldn't call them crafty lefties. It's not upper 80s on the fastball, but guys that do rely on the off speed to keep especially right-handed hitters off the fastball.
How about power lefties who can be crafty at times when they need to?
It's kind of unfair. Shouldn't happen, but it does. Every once in a while, you will get that guy who will have a pretty good fastball, but whatever breaking ball it is, whether it's the curveball, slider, or even that changeup, and they can throw in the zone. Those guys are special. We saw Martin Perez last night. He throws pretty hard, actually. He's the 3rd hardest thrower amongst left-handed starters in the game, and he relies heavily on his changeup when it is on. He threw a pretty good game last night. Those guys are certainly fun to watch. James Paxton, Chris Sale is a power pitcher who pitches.
Sliced into the corner, and that hits the railing above the wall and bounces far away from Bonifacio. And Mike Napoli, never known for his speed, has a rare stand-up triple to begin the top of the second inning. And his teammates love it.
Well, they certainly love seeing Mike Napoli have to run around the bases. First triple of the year for him. He had one a year ago, just the 11th in his long career. But this is a pretty good pitch down and away, and credit Mike Napoli for taking it the other way with a pretty powerful swing. And I thought there was a chance that ball was going to get out of here. I mean, was that right on top of the railing? Wow, it's some bad luck for Mike Napoli. I got to believe he would much rather have trotted around the bases than leg out that triple.
Jeff Bannister comes out, and he wants the umpires to take another look at it. This will not be a challenge. It is a crew chief review. It's hard to read in this ballpark because, like in some ballparks where you have some sort of a yellow line, or maybe the railing is painted yellow, here at Kauffman Stadium, that railing in the right field corner is green. So you can imagine from his point of view, it's tough to see where that ball landed.
Especially with the sun the way it is right now, and you see some fans reaching for it, and yeah, it looked like, I mean, it had to almost hit the top. I don't know if there's anything else over there that it could have hit.
Especially with the way it bounced.
Yeah.
Right over the 330 mark.
One extra push up for Mike Napoli, and he probably has himself a home run.
Crew chief is Paul Emmel, who also happened to be the umpire who made the call. Quinn Wolcott calling the balls and strikes. Brian O'Nora at second base, and Scott Berry is at third.
I'm surprised. I mean, you certainly appreciate that they take the time that they do, but it does seem like, and I know that's a big issue for Rob Manfred, that they would like this to happen quicker. And I guess they're not going to give us the. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you. We were waiting.
So the call was confirmed. The official ruling out of New York. Runner at third with nobody out. And the Royals will bring the infield in halfway for Nomar Mazara. Right to Merrifield. Napoli stays put, 1 down.
Let's take a look at the Royals defense. We actually have not had a chance to show it to you yet. This game moving along pretty quickly. Gordon, Kane, Bonifacio in the outfield, and of course we're going to have Moustakas, Escobar, Merrifield, Hosmer in the infield. Salvador Perez continues to do a great job behind home plate. This is a team that plays very, very good defense. You know, you and I were talking about this yesterday. We wish defensive metrics were more accurate. They are not kind the way that they should be to this Kansas City Royals team, but they continue to do what they have done over the last couple of years, which is play really, really good defense. Run prevention, the name of the game for the Royals.
0-1 on Carlos Gomez, and with their unlikely runs deep into the postseason in 2014 and 2015, this industry has a way of copying itself, and other teams started putting a renewed premium on defense around the league, seeing how much it helped Kansas City.
Pitchers were certainly loving that, something that could get ignored, especially if you're trying to put maybe a power team together, maybe some big strong guys that don't play the greatest defense but drive the ball out of the ballpark. There is certainly that infatuation with home runs that's going on right now without a doubt, but it's rare that you're going to get big guys that can slug and play good defense. Very uncommon.
0-2 on Gomez. Shallow left center field. So that's a no-brainer for Napoli. He's at third with 2 down. Nobody in the major leagues has more outfield assists than Alex Gordon since he became a full-time outfielder back in 2010. He has 90 outfield assists.
And such a great defender as well. You talk about the arm with the range that he has, the glove that he shows in left field. I mean, really, I think everyone knows you're looking at the best left fielder in the game. When you look at Alex Gordon, you could also put him at a premium position in right field, and he would do really well with that good arm and the assists and everything else. But it works out well here in Kansas City, where they like having him in left, and he has been excellent.
So Rougned Odor trying to pick up Napoli with 2 down. Batting average way down compared to last year. He finished at 271, but home runs and RBIs pretty much on pace from last year. And he pops it up. Mike Moustakas in foul ground, and Danny Duffy gets around the leadoff triple in the 2nd inning. Helping drivers worry less. And by Ford, we are going further so you can. The outfield experience at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, part of the 2009 renovations. Eric Hosmer takes low ball one. The Royals were, sorry CJ, 9 games under 500 at the end of April. Really nobody was hitting. The team took off beginning May 1st, and Eric Hosmer has been right in the middle of that.
Yeah, that's good to see. This is a good player and one of the many good players on this Kansas City Royals roster that is headed to free agency after the season. And you always wonder if guys feel the pressure a little bit. Say, we had a really nice year last year. If I could back it up with another one, it'd be a really nice payday. And so you saw a couple of guys off to slow starts, but Eric Hosmer has done a really nice job bouncing back and putting together a very solid season.
And 5 key guys will be unrestricted free agents here in Kansas City at the end of the season. Lorenzo Cain, center fielder, ALCS MVP in 14. Alcides Escobar, ALCS MVP in 15. Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, Jason Vargas, all All-Stars. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Strange swing there from Eric Hosmer. Might have been looking for an off-speed pitch, and maybe he saw something hanging. But yes, there are some big names there. And the way the system has changed, too, as far as compensation for free agents, it's not as good as it used to be. And so then the conversation was, well, would Dayton Moore be looking to potentially trade some of those guys? But no, they're playing too good right now.
Second strikeout for Cole Hamels as he gets Hosmer with a fastball.
This is a nice job from Cole Hamels as he ties Eric Hosmer up. Back-to-back fastballs on the inside part of the plate. And that one was a 2-seamer, so it had a little bit of run to it. And I used to do this when I was playing. You talk to left-handed hitters and ask them, what are they looking for against left-handed pitching? 2-seam fastball inside is the last thing a left-handed hitter is looking for. They're looking for the breaking ball away. They're looking for the fastball away. We're seeing more changeups now, lefty on lefty. If you can locate that 2-seam fastball like that in on lefties, very, very difficult to hit and keep fair if you can get to it.
Salvador Perez with 1 out. In on his hands, and he hits that into the netting in front of the Rangers dugout. Last time the Royals saw Cole Hamels, he was on top of his game. He gave up a run in the first inning and then none over the next 7.
He was strong in that game. Then you see just the 3 hits, the 2 walks. He did a nice job of keeping the pitch count manageable at 107 through 8, especially that early in the season. And see just the 3 strikeouts. But against the Royals, you got to expect that a little bit. They're pretty good at putting the ball in play for the most part. They don't walk a lot. So you try to pitch to weak contact if you can. He did a very nice job of that in that start back in April.
Almost hit him on the knee. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Salvador Perez just finished participating in his 5th consecutive All-Star game. He was the American League starter behind the plate. Big fan, like most catchers of this generation, of Ivan Rodriguez.
Well, he's certainly done a nice job of honoring the guy that he has looked up to with the way that he has caught these last few years. I mean, he is an Iron Man behind the plate, and I know you get to see it, but for people that don't watch him as closely around the country, I mean, this is a guy who's got the most innings caught since 2014, up over 4,000 behind the plate. And then, of course, that big year in 2014. Caught more innings in the regular and postseason than any catcher in the history of our game.
3 consecutive strikeouts now for Hamels, going back to the first inning. Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. And to learn more, go to playball.org. And now Hamels has decided to shift the defense himself and get Andrus over to the right side with Mike Moustakas at the plate. That's ripped foul into the crowd on the right field side.
Times have changed, haven't they? When we first started seeing some of these shifts, a lot of pitchers, especially veterans, were against it. They didn't love it. They hate when they were getting beat on shifts, when they get that routine, say right now in this situation, ground ball to short and nobody was there. But I think as time has passed, I think guys are really starting to see the value, and they've embraced it.
DeShields fades back in left field. He's got it. That's 2 perfect innings for Cole Hamels with 3 strikeouts. Danny Duffy will get the 8, 9, and 1 hitters as we begin the top of the 3rd inning, beginning with Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy hitting at .256. He is one of several Rangers that stumbled into the All-Star break offensively, and Jeff Bannister was telling us before the game tonight that the All-Star break came at a very good time for the Rangers offensively.
Without a doubt, a couple of guys that were struggling a little bit. Now, Ruben Odor was not one of those. He actually was swinging a very hot bat, but there were some guys going into the break where things had slowed down, and it's a grind. And the season is a long grind for everybody. It doesn't matter what team it is or where you play. And so I think there were a lot of those Rangers hitters that went ahead and enjoyed those 3 days off. No hitters in the All-Star game, just you, Darvish. And I think when you have this kind of offense as well, right? High-powered, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of home runs. There's going to be cold and hot streaks. It's just kind of the way it goes with those kinds of offenses. And so if you've got a couple of guys that are going cold, yeah, a couple of days off is not the worst thing.
Lucroy, DeShields, and Chu coming up. Shadows are getting a little easier for the hitters. Fewer changes of shade as the ball approaches home plate. Lucroy might argue otherwise. He's down on strikes, and Duffy has his 2nd strikeout.
Danny Duffy does a really nice job of getting Jonathan Lucroy to chase a pitch out of the zone. You don't see that very often from Jonathan Lucroy. He is one of the best in baseball when it comes to putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. You should see Salvador Perez doing a really nice job of holding on to that foul tip. He is not an easy guy to strike out, so credit Danny Duffy with a really good changeup and a nice job of expanding the zone.
And now breaking ball for a strike to Delino DeShields. Nice bounce back year for him. Rule 5 player 2 years ago with the Rangers, and the league may have adjusted to him last year, and now he has counter adjusted.
He has, and he talked about in spring training where he felt like maybe in 2016, not that he took his year for granted, but not that he didn't come into camp in great shape, but maybe there was something missing there, and he really turned it up this past offseason. It showed. He had a tremendous spring training, and that was why Jeff Bannister, the manager with the Rangers, wanted to go to that 3-man platoon, trying to figure out ways to get Delino DeShields into the lineup, and he's done a very nice job here so far this year. Big thing for him is keeping the ball on the ground. As much as, again, we talk about the home runs and the fly balls and everything else, and all this about fly ball revolution, he keeps the ball on the ground, and his batting average is right around 500.
And right on cue, he hits it in the air. 2 down. One of baseball's most heated rivalries come to FS1. First, Yadier Molina and the Cardinals meet Chris Bryant and the Cubs, followed by the Rangers and the Rays. Major League Baseball next Saturday starting at 4 Eastern on FS1.
Be a fun one. I'm calling that Rangers-Rays game with Brian Anderson. Not Brian Anderson, the play-by-play guy, but Brian Anderson, the left-handed pitcher. So much like this game is the way God intended it. Next week in Tampa.
Same in the broadcast booth, right?
All lefties all the time. I mean, let's be honest. It's what the people want. Probably not.
There is a right side of the brain joke in there somewhere.
I don't use either side. You can just go.
1-1 on Shin-Soo Choo. He grounded out to Hosmer in the first inning. He is 0 for 6 in this series. 0 for 5 last night, grounding out to Hosmer twice in that game. Not to Hosmer, but another ground ball to the right side. Merrifield throws him out. And Danny Duffy's last 6 outs have required only 16 pitches. Royals shortstop Alcides Escobar comes to the plate for the first time tonight. This is what he did in his first at bat last night against Martin Perez.
This caught everybody by surprise a little bit. Martin elevated a fastball, didn't want to intentionally, and you don't think about Alcides Escobar necessarily as a power threat. He did a nice job of barely keeping that ball fair.
So there's 2 ways to look at Escobar right now. He's hitting .226 for the year, and over his last 28 games he's hitting .327. So is Cole Hamels saying to himself, am I facing a .226 hitter right now, or am I facing a .327 hitter right now?
Well, what you care about really is what has a guy done lately, right? You talk about that all the time as a pitcher. You come in, you look at the lineup. Season numbers are one thing, and they certainly matter, but for a lot of pitchers, what's he been doing the last couple of weeks? How has he been swinging the bat? What are our advanced guys saying? What have they seen? Is he trying to go the other way early, especially for a lefty against a righty? Those are all things that they want to know, and certainly Cole Hamels is aware of what Escobar's done lately.
Just missed the inside, 2-1.
It was always fascinating, I think, to watch the Royals from the outside. And Escobar would continue to hit leadoff, even though that on-base percentage would be under 300. But they won, right? Ned Yost was unapologetic. He said, yes, he's going to hit leadoff. We keep winning. You can talk about what kind of hitter should be hitting leadoff for us. We don't care. We care about winning baseball games. And I think it's an interesting way to look at it. Now, this year, I think it's caught up with him. He's got the worst on-base percentage in all of Major League Baseball. But when it was working and the team was winning, yeah, go ahead, leave him up there.
He has not taken a walk since June 8th.
Oh,
works every time. His previous walk before that one was 115 plate appearances ago.
What a way to break up the perfect game. Cole Hamels not working here into just the third inning. But
that is the perfect storm, CJ, of very difficult to get a walk against Cole Hamels and very difficult to walk Alcides Escobar.
Does not make a lot of sense, right? That's why we play the game. We don't play it on paper. We actually go out there and play it, and things like that happen.
That is just the 18th walk given up by Cole Hamels. Brandon Moss goes the other way. Now, it's interesting seeing Moss get a base hit. Cole Hamels is as good as any lefty in the American League against left-hand batters, and Ned Yost kind of went against the so-called book. He didn't leave one left-hand bat that he had out of the lineup tonight.
Well, part of that is because of the type of hitter that Brandon Moss is. Now, he's not having a great year, but he's having a very nice year against lefties. He's hitting .385, and then you also start to look into the repertoire. I think that matters as well, because obviously all lefties are not created the same. And Cole Hamels, while he does throw the breaking ball, it's more about the fastball, the cutter, and even that changeup. And they felt like Brandon Moss, as you see the numbers there now, up to 407 for him this season, was a better fit against Cole Hamels. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You think lefty on lefty guy having a bad year, but no, that actually does make some sense, and it paid off in the first at bat.
Now another left-hand batter, Alex Gordon. Been fighting a slump all year and batting at 192 as the number 9 hitter. Go back to Surprise, Arizona in March, where the Royals and the Rangers share a spring training facility. And looking at the lineups last night, get Ned Yost and Jeff Bannister together and tell them that after the All-Star break, Alex Gordon and Joey Gallo are going to be both batting 9th.
Definitely not expected. I mean, first of all, when spring training started, they weren't even expecting Joey Gallo to break camp with the team. And then when Adrian Beltre had the injury, they needed a third baseman, and Joey Gallo filled in at third and did a really nice job and showed a bunch of power, which he's done all year. And so then you start going along and say, okay, this guy's got some pop. You're not going to put a guy like that hitting 9th, are you? But it has happened. He's hit very well when he's been in the 8th and the 9th hole. And low batting average, high strikeouts, it's worked out better. So that's been a surprise, but I would probably say Alex Gordon even the bigger surprise, right? Obviously getting the contract 2 years ago, and now what has happened with him over these last couple of years. It's kind of a big mystery, quite honestly, as far as his offensive struggles.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, Cole Hamels just saw Danny Duffy a couple of innings ago get around a leadoff triple. And now Hamels is trying to work around a walk and a single. 2 on, nobody out for the Royals in the bottom of the 3rd.
And that single by Brandon Moss we talked about, kind of strange to see him lefty on lefty in there against Cole Hamels. He never faced him either in his career, not once. And so for him to swing at the first strike that he sees against a good lefty who's dominated lefties this year and then lined the ball in the left field, it's pretty impressive by Brandon Moss.
That's in the air to left field. DeShields is back and makes the play as he goes onto the warning track. Escobar was not tagging. He was more halfway. When he realized that DeShields might make the play, he tried to hurry back and tag, but it was too late.
This is a good approach so far by 2 lefties. First Brandon Moss with the base hit to left, and now Alex Gordon with the deep fly out. We know this ballpark is a tough one to hit home runs out of, especially if you're asking a lefty to try to drive the ball out of left field, as you see Escobar going back. That's a good approach. When you have a lefty who has dominated lefties the way that Cole Hamels had this season and has, your best bet is going to try to hit him the other way, because you're not going to be able to pull him unless he makes a mistake.
Whit Merrifield grounded out to Beltre in the first inning. Just foul outside of third base.
Merrifield's been a really nice story, right? You know, as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years that he was on the 40-man roster, right? Never saw any big league time. This is going into 2016. They took him off the roster in the offseason.
Twice could have been taken in the Rule 5 draft.
So completely passed over by every other major league team. And now here he is, basically getting a second chance when there was a need. He's answered the bell, and you love these kind of stories, right? You think, oh, well, 3 years on the 40-man and never getting a call-up. That's not an easy thing to do. Most guys are usually off the roster if they're not used by their second or third year, but he survived.
Well, these two teams have a lot in common with recent winning, and you know, winning at the major league level obviously is the goal, getting to the playoffs. And the byproduct of that is that you don't have to rush anyone to the major leagues. So both the Rangers and the Royals have had a lot of success recently that when they do call somebody up, they're ready to play right now. 1-2 on Whit Merrifield. And Merrifield didn't like it. He wanted to get to the big leagues sooner.
Sure.
But there was some extra seasoning down on the farm, and when he arrived, he was ready.
You go back, what, 5 or 6 years when we started seeing Alex Gordon and Mike Moustakas maybe getting some time before they were ready. They were allowed to fail longer at the big league levels as far as first feeling their way out. And it worked for them, but it's not always the best formula either. And I think you'd rather have young guys up in the big leagues when you really kind of need them. I think when you put them up there because you can, because you're not competitive, sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. I always worry about guys experiencing too much failure too early. The guys here bounced back from and done a really nice job and got it together. But you're right. Once you become competitive, there are no more free at-bats and free innings for prospects.
2-2. Off the end of the bat, Odor is out. Mazzara is in to make the play. So first and second, nobody out, is now first and second, 2 down.
Not surprising to see Cole Hamels make some pretty big pitches and so far have an opportunity now to work out of a first and second, nobody out jam. Obviously he still has one more out to go. We saw it in the second inning from Danny Duffy as well. Some crafty lefties, a leadoff triple by Mike Napoli, and the Rangers were unable to get him in. But he's a competitor. This guy in his career has been so good over the course of his career, but he is really an unbelievable competitor. And the lights go on. Typical lefty. Outside the lines, relaxed, loose, fun. And during the game, extremely competitive. And you see what he's done there with the Texas Rangers. He has been very good.
That is an amazing record in a short period of time since coming over from the Phillies. More recently, he has gone 12 consecutive starts without a loss. The last time he has personally taken a loss was September of last season. And if you include tonight, he has gone over 15 consecutive scoreless innings. Upstairs to Bonifacio. He lined out to right field in the first inning.
And the only thing for Cole Hamels with that DL trip that he had because of the oblique, strained right oblique that he had, he will break that streak where he had 9 straight years of 30 or more starts. I mean, just unbelievably durable. And you think, okay, well, it's broken up not with an arm injury, but just with the oblique that he had to deal with. He's been an Iron Man, especially in today's game.
Andrews got a glove on it. No out, but he saved a run by keeping that ball out of the outfield. So Escobar, who would have scored had the ball gotten out to DeShields and left, has to hold at third.
2 very impressive at bats so far for Bonifacio. As you see this ball lined, and Elvis Andrews gets up and almost stabs it. Luckily that ball didn't roll any further away from him, otherwise that would have been an RBI. But a line out to right, his first at bat. Now a very hard struck ball here to left field for Bonifacio.
And how about the year Elvis Andrews has had?
He's been important.
They've needed someone to pick up the slack with Beltre and others out.
he's been the guy. He's been one of the more balanced hitters that they have. Adrian is as well, where you're getting contact. Shown a lot of power this year as well. He gets overlooked a lot because he's been around for a while, even though he's still young. We have so many great shortstops in the game right now, especially in the American League. You look around at Francisco Lindor, Andrew Bogarts, and you start going through rosters, Carlos Correa. There are a lot of good young shortstops around the league, but especially in the American League. Elvis gets overlooked quite a bit, but he's been excellent this year for the Rangers.
Bases loaded, 2 down. Kane takes a slider for a strike. Hamels struck him out with a changeup to end the first inning. Royals are making Hamels work in this inning. He has thrown 20 pitches in this inning after throwing 23 in the first 2 innings. On the ground to Beltre. He'll go the short way over to Odor, and Hamels works out of it. The Royals had 2 on, nobody out. Then the bases loaded, 2 out, and come up empty in the 3rd. And Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon weekdays from 9:30 a.m. to noon Eastern only on FS1. No score at the end of 3. Duffy and Hamels. It'll be Elvis Andrus, Adrian Beltre, and Mike Napoli in the 4th inning. Elvis Andrus had a historic first half when you're talking about shortstops, and he finished strong going into the All-Star break. But if you go back to 1933, why I don't know, but if you go back to 1933, there are 3 shortstops who have gone into the All-Star break with at least 100 hits, at least 50 RBIs, and at least 20 stolen bases. Alex Rodriguez in 1998, Edgar Renteria in 2003, and Elvis Andrus this year, and he could not get an invitation to Miami.
And it's tough, again, because the shortstop position is so crowded, it's difficult to stick out. He certainly had an all-star worthy season, and fair to say that he was a snub, and it does happen in the game where good players unfortunately get left off, especially with the roster getting trimmed a little bit. But he had a great first half. He was so important to this team. You mentioned it with Adrian Beltre being down, balancing out the lineup. You always worry sometimes about guys putting too much pressure on themselves when a star goes down. So I'm the guy. I got to be the guy, right? I'm next in line. I got to fill in. Then maybe that guy presses a little bit too much, but not in the case of Elvis Andrus, who is as loose and relaxed as any big leaguer. Certainly the guy to his right is Adrian Beltre, plays the game the same way.
Delayed call by Quinn Wolcott. Andrus doesn't agree. Wolcott nods his head, convinced that it was a strike. And Andrus has struck out twice against Duffy tonight.
He was not happy with this one at all, and it was one of those situations where Salvador Perez wanted the ball in. It ends up finishing away, and so it's a bad look. Elvis looks over and he sees Salvador Perez reaching way back, and he felt like that ball was probably off the plate, might have caught the corner. You don't get that call too often, though, when you miss your spot that bad. I think that was probably part of his argument. And by the way, to answer your question, you say, well, why 1933? That was the first All-Star game. So
Thank you.
There was no All-Star. I looked it up. I didn't know. I had to look. I figured that was the case. So I'm like, let me look it up.
No All-Star break.
There was no All-Star break. You just keep going. Pitchers throwing 600 innings and just no breaks. 3-man rotation.
Comiskey Park in Chicago, if I recall, and Ted Williams hitting a home run and waving his cap to the crowd in the black and white film as he was rounding first base, correct?
You're getting some head shakes, not in the direction you want them to be.
Well, there's an All-Star game highlight that I've seen 100 times. Back when it was a heated rivalry, the National League and the American League, and Ted Williams had a big home run, rounding first base, waving his cap because he was so excited. One of the few times he ever showed emotion on the field.
Could have been earlier because
that was in 39.
I was going to say 39 was when his career started, and that was also the first year that baseball was ever on television. Was 1939, so that very well could have been it.
2-2 on Beltre. Now he discusses the strike zone with Quinn Wolcott with a smile on his face,
as he always does. Only my first year here with the Rangers, I've yet to see him get angry on the field or off. Certainly not with any umpires.
Down to a knee, as he often does, and lines it right to Bonifacio in the bright sunlight in right field. 2 down. All right, just so we get our facts straight. First All-Star game in 33. Ted Williams, it was a walk-off home run in the 1941 All-Star game. So I only missed by 8 years.
I mean, listen, it's all the same, isn't it? Black and white. It's
That's
black. Always put that in the black and white era. Just throw it out there like that. Which, by the way, was a monster season for Ted Williams. He had 406 that year. Pretty good.
Joe DiMaggio had a pretty good year that year too, if I recall.
406 with a 553 on base percentage, and that was good for second in the MVP. And of course, yes, Joe DiMaggio won it that year.
The only hit for the Texas Rangers so far was a triple. And for those of you back in Texas, yes, a triple for Mike Napoli off the railing of the wall in the right field corner. And then Danny Duffy buckled down and retired the next 3. And now he's set down 8 in a row. 0-2 on Napoli. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And there was the changeup that has been very good so far here for Danny Duffy. Elevated by mistake. He got away with that earlier against Elvis Andrus. That first strikeout back in the first inning was an accidental elevated changeup, but that one really sailed up on him.
Fastball at 93. Napoli is down on strikes. Duffy has struck out 4 in 4 scoreless innings. Kauffman Stadium. Cole Hamels worked around 2 on, nobody out in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and is now 16 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings, longest streak in the league, and he made Hosmer look bad with that first pitch. Hamels struck out Hosmer, as Hosmer also led off the 2nd inning.
And there are some ugly swings in that at bat as well, so I don't think it has anything to do with shadows, but maybe just not seeing the ball very well. Sees that one pretty well.
Well, Hosmer is 0 for 2. There was not much of the left side of the infield defended by the Rangers as they were swung over to the right, but Hosmer hit it right to Beltre.
It's amazing how many times we see that. We've seen it a bunch here the last couple of weeks. There'll be one infielder on the left side. It's happened to Chew a bunch, hit the ball hard, and it's right where that guy is standing. So as much as we talk about those shifts and sometimes where pitchers are with it, much more open than they used to be, that one is always the one that amazes me. When they get that line drive to the one infielder, he's standing right there.
0-1 on Salvador Perez. Strikeout victim on a changeup in the 2nd inning. In on his hands at 93, 0-2. MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. The 2-strike pitch is ripped foul behind third base coach Mike Jershely. Salvador Perez leads all major league catchers with 18 home runs and 57 driven in. Beltre to the hole, sets his feet, and over to Napoli for the 2nd out.
Well, there's that changeup, and that's Cole Hamels understanding his hitter. Salvador Perez will expand the zone as much as anybody in the game. We know that was a really nice pitch by Cole Hamels, though, using that changeup down and away and getting that ground ball against Perez.
Mike Moustakas tried to go the other way against Hamels and flied out to left field in the 2nd inning. Royals lefties appear to be making a conscious effort to go to the left side or left field against Hamels.
And I think he understands that, right? When you see left-handed hitters that do well against left-handed pitching, it is because for that exact reason. They will line the ball, take it the other way. Those are the toughest lefties to get out. So we have seen him use that 2-seam fastball where he's trying to run it in. That's a great way to try to counteract that if lefties are trying to be short with their swing and they're not going to chase the breaking ball that is down and away. You can run that 2-seam fastball up and in on the hands or even belt it in. Makes it pretty tough to take the left.
Very high to right field. The wind is blowing in from right, so that keeps it in the ballpark, and Mazzara brings it down. And 9-pitch bottom of the 4th inning for Hamels. Still no score. Nice crowd at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and like Arlington, Texas, a first pitch temperature of 91 degrees in the middle of July is not all that bad. It'll be Nomar Mazara, Carlos Gomez, and Rougned Odor in the top of the 5th inning against Danny Duffy, who has given up 1 hit, and he has set down the last 9 Rangers. 1-0 on Mazara.
You see this with Nomar Mazara, the opposite, right? You don't see a heavy shift, a little bit with Whit Merrifield, but how about Lorenzo Cain in center? Actually shifted toward left field. Nomar has done a very nice job this year of spraying all fields, especially that left field gap, and the Royals know that, and they'll actually play him in the outfield to go the opposite way, and really only play him to pull maybe a little bit at second base, but that's about it. For the most part, it's straight up in the infield.
And surprisingly shallow, too. I mean, you mentioned the direction, but for a guy like Mazara, when he gets his arms extended, has some power. The Royals are taking a risk here with Cain and Gordon in pretty shallow in the outfield.
Now I wonder if it's based on that fly ball that we saw to end the inning, right, where it died a little bit. Look like Moustakas got it pretty good.
Off the plate, Escobar, close and out.
Well, this is good hustle by Nomar Mazara as this ball just barely beats him, as you see him striding for first base. So very nice play by Alcides Escobar. Another shortstop, again, probably gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, but does a really nice job defensively.
Mazara is 0 for 2. Carlos Gomez is 0 for 1. He flied out to Gordon left field in the 2nd inning. Just foul up the left field line. Duffy that time, and we have been talking, CJ, about him pitching exclusively out of the stretch. Went to a slide step, which is usually used to deceive the runner at first base, or at least limit his ability to steal. But Duffy will use that to throw off the timing of the hitter.
And he picks the right guy to do it against Carlos Gomez, because he knows by looking into the numbers that Carlos is very aggressive early.
Merrifield had it in his glove and it popped out.
Carlos getting a little bit of a laugh as he got jammed pretty badly on what will go down as a base hit, and Whit Merrifield had a long way to run to try to get this ball. Check out where he is, and even leaning towards second base, so he has to change directions. He was there. It's a pretty generous hit. He was right on, didn't have to dive. Yes, he had to run a long way, but that ball was in his glove. He just didn't squeeze it. Carlos Gomez will definitely take it.
So that snaps the string of 10 in a row set down by Duffy. 1 on 1 out to Rougned Odor. Odor fouled out to Moustakas at third base to end the 2nd inning. Out at first base. Danny Duffy goes with a slide step, and he picks up Merrifield. Jeff Bannister says, wait a minute. They want to take another look. Gomez has not left first base, so that might be a sign that he believes he got back in time.
Well, this obviously was a very good move by Danny Duffy with the step off and the throw, and rarely do you see that actually work for a pickoff. We'll find out whether or not Jeff Bannister will want to challenge this or not, but you don't see it too often. You don't see that step off move really work. There's Steve Buechele, the bench coach for the Texas Rangers. They say no. Carlos Gomez is going to go back to the dugout.
That is the 24th pickoff in Danny Duffy's career. That's a first for me. I am accustomed now to a manager giving almost like the abbreviated safe sign, telling the umpiring crew we're not going to challenge. Jeff Bannister instead told his runner at first base, come on back. You were out. And now a strike with a fastball to Odor.
Carlos Gomez is aggressive at the plate. He is aggressive on the base paths. He's aggressive in the outfield. That's his game. So he will take some chances once in a while. And Danny Duffy got him with a pretty good pickoff. Very quick.
One and one on Odor.
Take a look at this here. You'll see this move from Danny Duffy looking down and actually not even coming completely set, which you don't have to in that situation as long as you step off. So there's part of that too, I got to believe, for Carlos Gomez, that might have been anticipating Danny Duffy stopping and then maybe doing some kind of move. So all around a very nice move by Danny Duffy, catching Carlos Gomez off guard.
If you go back to 2011 when Duffy made his big league debut, he has the 7th most pickoffs in the major leagues. Over the bag, Hosmer, his momentum takes him into foul ground, and he connects with Duffy to end the top of the 5th inning. So Gomez gets an infield single, but because of the pickoff, Duffy faces only 3. Cole Hamels, no runs, 2 hits. Hamels will get the lower third of the order in the bottom of the 5th inning. Now Alcides Escobar, adding almost 350 over his last 16 games, led off the 3rd with a walk. It was his first since early June. And for Hamels, talking about a guy who doesn't mess around with the lower third of the order, it was just his 3rd walk all year to a 7, 8, or 9 hitter. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, very unusual to see that at bat, especially from Cole Hamilton. I don't think you necessarily, look at Escobar as the guy that he's worried about. Obviously, there's some great hitters in this lineup, and we know Escobar, of course, hit the home run last night, but he's been very careful. You see him even going through a couple of signs there with Jonathan Lucroy, but been very careful so far with Escobar.
And now Escobar's ahead in the count again. 2 balls, 1 strike.
I mean, the history was very good. 1 for 12 coming into this one. Just an 083 batting average for Cole Hamels against Escobar. Maybe he saw that what we talked about earlier, what he has done lately. He's just been more careful.
Down around the end of the bat. DeShields over from left. Gomez over from center. It's Gomez. And there's one down. UFC Fight Night on a special day and time. 8th ranked Gunnar Nelson takes on Santiago Ponzinibbio. Plus, Joanne Calderwood battles Cynthia Calvillo. UFC Fight Night tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And you can tell by my pronunciation that I'm a huge UFC fan.
But I mean, you talk about some pressure. It's one thing if you get a soccer guy's name wrong, right? It's a little bit different if you get a UFC fighter's name wrong. Especially for me when I used to work at FS1. A lot of those guys are floating around. They come in, they do, you know, leading up to fights, they'll do promos, they'll come in, do interviews, do some of the studio shows. And you're thinking, man, I wonder if that guy heard me botch his name when I was doing that game in St. Louis 2 weeks ago.
I feel safe in this broadcast booth in Kansas City. Brandon Moss in his first ever at bat against Cole Hamels. Single to left field back in the 3rd inning, and the Royals had 2 on with nobody out against Hamels, but Hamels got a fly out from Gordon, a fly out from Merrifield after an infield single, and a great play by Andrews at short to keep the ball in the infield. Hamels got a ground ball from Kane and got out of the inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
So interesting, I think that we saw the great at bat from Moss, first one he's ever had against Cole Hamels, hits the line drive to left field, but the Rangers still have the shift on. They have the infield shift. At least they're looking at ground balls they feel like would finish on the right side, and maybe after what they saw in that line drive, sometimes you play the opposite where you think maybe fly balls would finish on the left side.
Still 2-2.
And the Rangers have been very good with the shift this year. 14th most used shifts in the league, and Inside Edge does a really nice job of plus and minus as far as, okay, well, how many hits have you let up because of the shift? How many have you prevented? As you see Steve Buechele there, who coordinates the shifts on the infield, and they've been a plus 13 this year, so they're in a pretty good spot. Their shifts have worked out to their advantage. Net hits saved, so they have saved 26 hits via the shift, and they've given up 13 that cost them because they were shifted. And you take a look at Brandon Moss and you see those hits that are mostly to center and right field, and they've done a good job. But what's amazing, so the Rangers I mentioned 14th overall with 476 shifts this year. The Astros 1,051 shifts. They are
league.
blowing everybody out of the water, and they're only a +1.
Okay, I was going to say that's the next question, because they use it a lot, but it hasn't been as successful as other teams. Hamels gets his 4th strikeout, and there are 2 down in the 5th inning.
Cole Hamels is really finding his strikeout game. I mentioned his last couple of starts have been good, 6 strikeouts in each of those, and now 4 so far here. The lefty on lefty changeup, love that pitch. I mentioned the 2-seam fastball is one that lefties are usually not looking for inside. Changeup is not a pitch they're usually looking for either. The game is really changed and evolved in that regard. Lefties usually expecting fastballs away, expecting breaking balls away, while Cole Hamels using the 2-seam fastball and the changeup, lefty on lefty.
And now breaking ball to Gordon. 3 of his 4 strikeouts tonight have been on a changeup. Alex Gordon took him to the warning track in left field back in the 3rd inning. Now to shallow left field. DeShields got a good break, and that's the inning. And now Hamels has retired the last 7. He has given up 2 hits in 5 innings. Danny Duffy has given up 2 hits in 5 innings.
worked out.
Well, we expected to see good pitching tonight, and Danny Duffy and Cole Hamels have delivered. No runs and a combined 4 hits through the first 5 innings. And Duffy, for the second time tonight, will get the 8, 9, and 1 hitters. Cole Hamels, no runs, 2 hits, 1 walk. Danny Duffy, no runs, 2 hits, and no walks. He got Lucroy on a changeup in the 3rd inning. And he's ahead, no balls, 2 strikes.
I mean, it would be incredible. Obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit, or at least I am. Or if we got through this game and the only walk was to Alcides Escobar.
Right.
Because that's the only one that we've seen so far now. 10 innings combined between these 2 pitchers have done an excellent job. And I mentioned Escobar, of course, has the lowest on base percentage in baseball right now. And so for him to draw a walk, it's just his 7th of the year. That would be pretty crazy if that's how this thing finished out.
And there are times you will face somebody like Escobar who has a reputation of swinging at everything, and so you don't throw him a strike, right? Expecting him to help you out and go out of the strike zone, and he'll just surprise you and have a very selective plate appearance. And now Escobar plays it on 1 bounce, has plenty of time to get Lucroy. 1 down. Time for our Budweiser game summary. And as you'd expect, it is pitcher themed. Cole Hamels, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Danny Duffy, 5 1/3, 2 hits, no runs. Both have struck out 4. Duffy's going for his 6th win. Hamel trying to improve to 5-0.
Not only are these guys cruising along and doing a really nice job, you got 2 lefties with good changeups. They are both throwing their changeups right around 80% of the time for strikes. I mean, that's a great number. Now, sometimes that means going out of the zone, which we've seen, and getting hitters to chase it. Now it'll count as a strike, even though it wasn't in the strike zone. But they have both used the changeup very effectively. Cole Hamels, 82% on his changeups. Danny Duffy, 78% on his changeups. 4 strikes. That's a big number.
2-0 on DeShields. One of the few hard hit balls tonight for the Rangers against Duffy. He lined out to Gordon in left field in the 3rd inning. One hop to Moustakas. 2 down.
We mentioned how the evening has gone so far, and taking a look at both of these starting pitchers. You mentioned it. We thought we were going to get a duel. We have gotten one. 2 lefties dealing. See a good fastball located inside. There's that changeup that Hamels has used out of the zone. You see Elvis shaking his head no. Did not like that called 3rd strike, but it has been a very nice night for both of these lefties. Filling up the strike zone, mixing and matching. Very similar repertoires, and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
We like to say Duffy is facing Hamels, and of course they don't face each other. They oppose one another. Fouled away by Shin-Soo Choo. It looked like, and Hamels has been around a long time, World Series MVP, long career, but it looked like he was just relaxing in the dugout. Is he watching Danny Duffy at all? Are you curious to see what another guy is doing?
It's
or
interesting.
Are you in your own zone?
For him, I would guess probably not, and you're right. You're not actually pitching against the other pitcher, but in a way you kind of are as well, because you want to outlast that guy.
3 up, 3 down for Duffy in the 6th inning. That took only 9 pitches. No score at the end of 5 1/2. Cole Hamels will get the top of the Royals order and the bottom of the 6th inning. Third time through, and CJ with a lot of pitchers, this is when an offense will say, okay, we've got this guy figured out, but there is really no change once you get to the third time through against Cole Hamels.
Yeah, it's been amazing. You see him throw a first pitch breaking ball right there, and sometimes it means changing the repertoire up a little bit. And if you have a deep enough repertoire, or you're just really good at hitting your spots and mixing speeds, you can do that. It's for the guys that don't have great command and don't have the high-powered stuff that start to run into some trouble, even if they're throwing strikes, but strikes within the strike zone. Where are they? Those are the guys that start to run into trouble third time around. With Jason Hamill here last night, we know that's been an issue for him over the course of his career. He's talked about it as well. But Cole Hamels has been very good, and it's not an anomaly either. It's not just this year. This is something he has done over the course of his career. You should take a look at what the Royals have done so far. Just 2 hits through the lineup. But in his career, first time through, 224, very good. Third time through, 252. That's over the course of a very long career. So he has been good in those spots since he's ever gotten to the big leagues.
Andrews throws out Merrifield. He is 0 for 3. All 3 of those base runners, if you include the walk by Escobar, came in the 3rd inning against Cole Hamels. Escobar walked, Moss singled. With 2 down, Bonifacio reached with an infield single. That's the only inning the Royals have had a base runner against Hamels, who has been a fly ball pitcher in a fly ball friendly ballpark.
That's the way to do it. And when you get to a ballpark like this, you might get a little more comfortable throwing, say, your 4-seam fastball up in the zone a little bit more than you might, say, in Philadelphia, where he pitched for so long. Really good home run ballpark, because he's a good ground ball pitcher. 51% ground ball rate this year, so you'd actually expect to see more ground balls than those flyouts. But this is that kind of park. If you fall behind the count with certain hitters, go right at him with a 4-seamer, let him pop it up.
Fouled away by Bonifacio. Now, does that really happen? I know from the booth and from a fan's perspective, you say, okay, I'm at Kauffman Stadium. It's a big ballpark. I can get away with more. That sounds good in theory, but how often is that really applied by a pitcher once he gets on the mound, as far as making an adjustment to his normal game based on the ballpark?
A little bit. It's slight. It's not that big. You still pitch your game. I think it's more if you get behind the count. You get behind, say it's a 3-1 count, and again, you're pitching in a smaller ballpark and it's lefty versus righty. You might say, you know, I want to be careful here. I'm going to go throw something off speed. If it's a bigger ballpark and it's lefty on lefty, and you feel like, you know what, I'm facing Brandon Moss and he's only going to try to take me the other way, I don't think he can take me out of the ballpark to left field, so I'm going to go right at him.
Gomez's first step was back, but he adjusts and gets Bonifacio 2 down in the 6th. MLB wants to see your best plays this summer, whether they're in the backyard or on the diamond. So show us what you've got on social media with hashtag MLBThePlay, and we'll feature some of the best all season long.
I think there'll be no shortage of videos coming their way.
Right.
That's for sure. It's one of the great things about the phones, the technology that we have now. I love doing it with my kids, and you know what I did was really fun. I had my little guy, I saw him one time playing in the backyard by himself, just pretending he was hitting and running around the bases, and he hit a triple in this scenario. And I took it, I made it black and white, and then I put it to Vin Scully calling a Yasiel Puig triple and timed it up right now. It was great because in that, it was 2 years ago, Vin did not actually say Puig's name. He just called him the Wild Horse. So it's my little guy running and Vin Scully calling a triple. It's a lot of fun. So many cool things you can do nowadays with your phone and taping your kids playing baseball.
There's a shot into center field for Lorenzo Cain. He is 1 for 3. That's a first base runner for the Royals since the 3rd inning. Hamels had set down 9 in a row.
Well, he's been locked in, especially after 2 quick outs here so far in the 6th inning, and no damage done. A nice job by Lorenzo Cain as he smoked that ball right back up the middle, but it's a 2-out base hit. And with the way that Cole Hamels has been pitching, even the couple of times that runners have gotten on base, no sweat for him. Great pitch count, just 77 so far through 5 2/3.
Picking up where his teammate Martin Perez was last night. He had a very efficient pitch count, and Eric Hosmer has been a handful this year for left-hand pitchers in the American League. He has yet to get a base hit in his career against Cole Hamels, and Hamels ties him up. Andrews backs out into shallow center, and now Eric Hosmer is 0 for 13 in his career against Cole Hamels, who has retired 10 of the last 11. The Royals have college themed nights, and tonight is Nebraska night at Kauffman Stadium, so fans had a chance to get their Nebraska themed Royals cap and cheer on the left fielder Alex Gordon, who was an All-American at the University of Nebraska, born and raised right there in Lincoln, and was the Royals' first-round pick back in 2005 after growing up as a Royals fan in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Pretty much living the dream, right, as so many other kids in this area have. Going to the college that you want to go to, playing for the big league team that you want to play for. The fact that they did such a nice job kind of opening up the wallet a little bit in the payroll to be able to bring him back. I remember covering the game nationally at the time and thinking there was no way Alex Gordon was going back to Kansas City, and he certainly left some money on the table, and you appreciate that. It has been a struggle for him since he signed that deal, but you can't help but appreciate the fact that doesn't matter what the numbers is. You know, people say, well, you know what, yeah, $75 million, you could have got 100. What's the difference? $25 million, right? It's a lot of money, and it is a big difference. But he wanted to be here, and they made it work, and certainly can appreciate that.
1-1 on Andrews. Up the middle, and Alcides Escobar, another Venezuelan shortstop, throws out Andrews. Bragging rights were on the line there, and Escobar gets a tip of the cap and tips his teammates back after that play.
Tip of the cap and say also, I'm going to get you if I get my opportunity, as we see a little shortstop on shortstop crime here. What a great play by Escobar. Fields it cleanly, and watch the exchange. Clean, the spin, and a great throw. I mean, you talk about doing it all. And there's something to be said. Certainly Danny Duffy, very excited, and say a big thank you. But there's something to be said, too, about Eric Hosmer at first base. We were talking, of course, to Ned Yost before the game, and he said one thing about Eric Hosmer at first is these guys know he'll be able to pick it, and with all the confidence in the world, they can throw it somewhere close. They know he'll get it. They don't feel like they have to make perfect throws with Eric Hosmer in those situations where you don't have a lot of time to think. He gives those guys confidence. Yeah, go ahead, throw it in the dirt. I'll get it. Throw it the line a little bit. Whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can get it. That means a ton to infielders when they see that from their first baseman.
1 out to Beltre. He is 0 for 2. We were talking about Alex Gordon. He is one of 4 brothers, and one of his younger brothers is named Brett, after George Brett, the family, longtime Royals fans. And the comparisons were made immediately because Alex Gordon came up as a third baseman, and it was George Brett who at one point said, I wish I had the physical ability that Alex Gordon did when I was starting my big league career. That's lined to center field. Kane got a good break and he runs it down, and one excellent third baseman, Adrian Beltre, just lined out to Kane in center field. And you may not tie those two together. One was a left-hand batter who's now in the Hall of Fame, another a right-hand batter, but if you compare their 20 seasons for Beltre, 21 for George Brett. Beltre known a lot more for his defense, although George Brett won 1 Gold Glove in his career.
And pretty impressive when you put those guys side by side, and certainly we believe that Adrian Beltre will be joining George Brett in Cooperstown. That march for 3,000 hits continues for him, but it's been a pretty unbelievable career for the Rangers third baseman.
Well, CJ, you set us up. Glove is in the air. That's a routine play for Kane, but Kane made a great play. Escobar made a great play behind Duffy in the 7th inning. Inning, the heated rivalry comes to life again on FS1. The Cardinals and the Cubs, followed by the Rangers and the Rays. That's Major League Baseball next Saturday, starting at 4 Eastern on FS1. And speaking of the Cardinals and the Cubs, did you have both of them under 500 at the All-Star break?
I did not. And pretty unbelievable division so far. In the National League Central, the Cubs, of course, just made a huge move, picking up Jose Quintana from the Chicago White Sox. Well, they're now ready to make their move and get going a little bit. But no, this is not how anybody thought the division was going to go. I think the Cubs have dealt with a little bit of that World Series hangover. You talk to enough people that have been through it, they will tell you that it is real. It happens, and it makes it all the more impressive that the Royals were able to go to a Game 7 in 14, come back and do it again in 15 and win the whole thing. But more people you talk to, they figure, how do you manage the pitchers, the shorter off season? I think that it certainly caught up with the Cubs, especially for them, and it was the case here in Kansas City, that it was such an historic World Series. So there was so much time that people were asking of all those guys throughout the off season. So many demands on their time. It's caught up to them a little bit, I think, so far.
Fouled away by Perez, 1-2, and that's the key right there, the demand of the time, because as you pointed out, the Royals went to Game 7 of the World Series in 2014. So they had the same offseason as the Giants did. They went the same distance into the postseason, but the demands were much different for the Giants at postseason than it was for the Royals. They were motivated and recharged and came back and won it the very next year.
And that's why when you look at the Yankees winning 3 in a row, and you're like, it's unbelievable that they're able to do that. And then it makes more sense that the Giants became an every other year team. for a while. That actually makes some sense.
Cole Hamels has set down 11 of the last 12. That's the second time he has struck out Salvador Perez.
He does a good job of, again, going at him this time with the fastball in after expanding the strike zone on the changeup. And you see the foul tip there by Salvador Perez and a nice squeeze by Jonathan Lucroy.
And just to finish the thought on the games next week, the one you'll be doing, the Rangers against the Rays. I'm sure you had Tampa Bay in second place in the East.
It really is
late in the season.
It's been amazing what has gone on around the league. The Rockies, the Diamondbacks in the National League hanging in there. And the Dodgers are really starting to separate themselves in that division. But there's that American League East. I actually had the Blue Jays as the team that I thought would challenge the Red Sox. I missed there as well, not surprisingly. But what I was going to say, showing that promo, so it was a picture of Molina there. The All-Star game, we kept hearing about all these great young players. Here they, and there were a ton in the big leagues, and they were on display in the All-Star game. Molina hits a home run. Cano hits a home run, right? The old guys, hey, don't forget about us.
That's
We're
right.
actually still the guys that can get it done against the best in the league.
1-2 on Moustakas. We previewed this matchup here. Hamels so tough against left-hand batters. Mike Moustakas has had a good year against left-hand pitching. And so far, Hamels has Moustakas 0 for 2 with a fly out to left and a fly out to right. And now he's ahead 1 ball 2 strikes. Make it 2-2. 7 of his 25 home runs, which doesn't seem like a lot, but Moustakas has many more at bats against righties than he does lefties. So the ratio is the more impressive number than the total number of home runs.
I'll tell you what, it's impressive to me. He came into the season with 20 home runs against lefties over the course of his entire career. Now he's got 7 already in the first half of this season. That's a big number. And I asked Ned Yost, and I wasn't sure. You know, a lot of times I don't want to give away secrets or what is the guy doing differently? Is it a different approach? But he said, you know what, this guy has become a smarter hitter. He's always had the power, but now it's become about game plan, and it's become about sitting on pitches in certain counts. Now, much like you were talking about saying, do you have the confidence to throw a 2-0 fastball in a ballpark against a good hitter? I think that same thing kind of comes into play for a hitter. When you say, I'm going to sit on a pitch here, you can say it all day long, but you got to believe in it, and you got to be able to be willing to strike out doing it and saying it's okay, and then bounce back in your next at bat and go ahead and go with whatever your same game plan has been. That has been the difference for Mike Moustakas this year. Game plan, sitting on pitches, and really executing when he's had an opportunity.
Odor toward the middle and gets Moustakas. 2 down in the 7th inning. And I'll just add to that, a hitter not being afraid to take a couple of hittable pitches early in the count if it's not the pitch that they were sitting on, not the one that they were looking for. A younger hitter fearing a strikeout or making an out is down in the count 0-1, and then all of a sudden the game plan goes down the drain and you're in survival mode.
If you're going to do it, and I've always wondered about hitters that sit on pitches and how difficult that can be. You have to be completely in. You can't do it halfway. You can't put your toe in the water. You got to jump in with both feet, and you have to be willing to strike out. You have to be willing to take some ugly swings and not be embarrassed by it. I think we saw in the first at bat for Eric Hosmer, it was really uncomfortable against Cole Hamels. Next at bat, he hit a pretty good line drive. It was right at Adrian Beltre, but you stick with the plan. You don't worry about the ugly swings. That's just all about confidence in yourself and that game plan.
0-1 on Escobar. He has walked and flied to center field. That's not a bad idea with the way Hamels is going tonight.
You see the cutter here from Cole Hamels. So that late break as it comes in, and Escobar bunts that ball right off of his left foot.
Still 0-2. .92 pitches for Hamels in 6 2/3 innings. He has allowed just 4 base runners, 3 singles, and 1 walk. To Andrews. And that'll do it for the Royals in the bottom of the 7th inning. And now Cole Hamels has set down 13 of the last 14. Still no score. Top of the 8th inning. Danny Duffy in the middle of the 3rd time through the Rangers order. It'll be Mazara, Gomez, and Odor. 5, 6, 7 hitters coming up. And Danny Duffy has been very good. He has been very efficient. This is just the 2nd time in 14 starts he has pitched into the 8th inning. The first time was against the Rangers back on April the 20th when he threw 7 1/3 scoreless innings and threw exactly 100 pitches. Tonight, CJ, he is at 77 pitches. And number 78 puts him ahead in the count. No balls, 2 strikes.
And looking sharp. Back-to-back breaking balls there. Sliders to Nomar Mazara. Well located. He has him out in front on both of those. And this is one of those games, and you're getting a feeling where it's either one defensive miscue or one pitch that's left over the plate. It's going to be, and feels like it's going to be, a one mistake kind of game. Whatever it may be. It's been a lot of fun, though, to watch these two guys go toe-to-toe. Two very good lefties locked into their games. Mixing and matching a lot of things identical, both right at the 69% strike mark, which is above league average.
Oh, where was that? It was not to the target. And Salvador Perez held it out there for home plate umpire Quinn Wilcott, who thought it was inside to Mazara.
Look out.
No swing. Scott Berry is the third base umpire.
The old habits kind of kick back in, and so as Danny Duffy was looking down at third base, Salvador Perez started to throw that ball back to him. And, you know, obviously I'm not sitting in the dugout, but it's just like a, you know, a little tick. Look out. Heads up. But Danny Duffy turned back in time and caught that ball.
Three and two. So Mazara down 0-2, fills out the count with Gomez on deck. He has not thrown more than 15 pitches in an inning, and that 15-pitch inning was in the first. How about his last 3 before this one? 9, 9, and 7.
I mean, that is absurd for so many reasons. Obviously, it's dominant, but also because Danny Duffy has been good this year. He's averaged 15.7 pitches per inning. It's a really nice number, 15.7. He hasn't done that once tonight through 7 innings.
Merrifield scoops and throws out Mazara. Duffy's last 10 outs have been on 31 pitches. And isn't it interesting when you look at the evolution of a pitcher? And what do we say so often now, CJ? He was a thrower and now he's a pitcher. Pitches per inning going down.
Yep.
Usually coincides with that growth going from a thrower to a pitcher.
No doubt. And you know, when Danny Duffy went into the bullpen and then came back into the rotation, it was all about him rediscovering his fastball, kind of letting it fly, because starters, when they go into the bullpen, like, oh, I'm going to throw an inning, feels good, let me let it loose, and you start to see a couple of ticks in velocity. So that helped him rediscover the fastball. And then he went from there to now becoming even more of a pitcher. He goes back in the rotation. Yes, go ahead and let it fly. You got more velocity than you realized as a starter. But yes, the evolution of now mixing in those other pitches, working corners, changing speeds, and it's really all come together very nicely for Danny Duffy.
That's fouled away by Gomez. We just showed you pitching coach Dave Eiland, and those two really worked well together last year with Danny Duffy making the transition, because I think with what you just described, you go to the bullpen, you have this, this 1 inning surge where you can go max effort. Now you're back in the rotation. There's a tendency to say, okay, now I have to go back to pacing myself and setting up hitters. Dave Eiland said, let's go 1 inning at a time. Let's build on what you learned in the bullpen. Let's just win this inning, and we'll worry about the second, the third, and the fourth, and the fifth innings when they come.
It's a really smart approach, because it's difficult for guys. Again, they come back out of the bullpen and you think exactly what you said Danny Duffy was thinking.
Loop to right, and it'll drop in front of Bonifacio. Gomez has his second hit, and with nobody covering first base, he was able to take a wide turn, and he was trying to get a throw from Bonifacio back to first base so he could advance to second. Bonifacio wouldn't bite.
Well, second time here for Carlos Gomez where he's gotten jammed a little bit, but it has turned into a base hit. Now, back in the 5th inning, he got jammed pretty bad. The ball barely reached the outfield. He gets jammed there as well on that fastball. And boy, it's a good thing Danny Duffy didn't sneak in there a little bit earlier. As Carlos Gomez is trying to get the rookie to maybe get over aggressive and throw the ball away. Like I said, in this kind of game, you take them any way that you can get them. And if it means you have to use the handle to get a couple of base hits, Carlos Gomez is willing to do that.
A man on for Rougned Odor. One hop to Merrifield. That ball ate him up, and somehow he got it to stick in the glove and turned it into a double play. The Rangers are going to take another look. It was very close at first base, but sometimes the player will tell you what happened, and Odor is already taking his shin guard off past first base.
This one is going to be close. What a great look, slow motion. Not enough there to get it turned over. And I got to imagine that the Rangers will not challenge this. It is no longer the back of the glove. It is now just in the cylinder of the glove. It used to be that the ball had to hit the back of the glove, and that was plenty to get Odor.
No challenge. And another low pitch inning for Duffy, just 10 in the 8th. That is your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Stay connected with game day live video highlights, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and more. Shallow left field. DeShields sprinting in from left. He didn't see it right away and gets Brandon Moss. 1 pitch, 1 out for Cole Hamels in the bottom of the 8th inning. Grip the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball.
Well, great defense tonight so far by the Kansas City Royals. You mentioned that they lead the league in fielding percentage, but it is much more than that. The ground that was covered by Alcides Escobar, of course, also Lorenzo Cain, and then this really nice turn with Merrifield on a very hard hit ball, 108 miles an hour off the bat. He's able to field it cleanly and turn it into a double play. So across the board, the Royals continue to get it done like they have the last few years here on the defensive side of the ball.
Both starters have been outstanding tonight. Hamels has allowed 1 base runner since the 3rd inning. He has set down 14 of the last 15, and now he shatters Alex Gordon's bat, and Andrus will throw him out. Gordon is 0 for 3, and now 2 down in the bottom of the 8th inning. And up comes Whit Merrifield. Just saw that nifty double play that he started on a shot from Odor on 1 hop. At the plate tonight, he is 0 for 3.
Cole Hamels cruising along here so far now. A 3-pitch inning, and he's gotten himself 2 outs so far as he gets close to that 100 pitch mark. And we mentioned the oblique and the issue that he had there, and the 2 starts that he got since he's come off the DL. He's thrown 96 and 95 pitches, so now this will be pitch number 98. He's only broken the 100 pitch mark twice this season in his 8 starts.
One of the few pitches tonight that has gotten away from him.
There it is right there, averaging right around 97 per start. He's at 98 right now.
Merrifield to the gap in left center field. He'll stop at second base with a 2-out double, and that's the first extra base hit for the Royals against Hamels tonight. It is the 18th double the season for Whit Merrifield.
Cole Hamels has been so locked in today, and here is a changeup that's pretty well located, especially when you talk about a 1-0 count, bottom half of the zone, exactly where he would want it. But credit Whit Merrifield, he stayed on it, did a nice job of driving this ball into the gap, hit it very hard. Now you start to wonder a little bit as Jeff Bannister comes out here if that would be it for Cole Hamels. It is.
The gate is open, so runner at second, 2 down, and the Royals are into the Texas bullpen. Hamels had the longest consecutive scoreless inning streak in the major leagues, 13 1/3. And now with 7+ scoreless innings tonight, 20 1/3 innings. Jose Leclerc takes over. Merrifield at second base is Hamels' responsibility.
And he'll ask Jose Leclerc to keep that scoreless streak alive. Jose has done an excellent job here for the Rangers. Right-handed arm with good velocity. The fastball will sit around 95 miles an hour. There's a changeup and a curveball as well. Now you see that pitch right there. You looked at it, you watch it, you're saying that's a slider. That is a changeup from Jose Leclerc. And what he does is he has a traditional changeup grip against righties. He cuts it on purpose. And so it looks like a slider. A lot of the websites that you look at will tell you that it is a slider. It is 100% a changeup. I've had the conversation with him multiple times. I'm saying, man, that's a slider. Looks like no, it's a changeup. He tells me every single time. So he'll cut that changeup to righties, and it'll fade away or stay straight to lefties.
Now the Heat at 95. Now CJ, he was on the disabled list in May with a problem with his right index finger. Is it the index finger that creates that cutting movement on his changeup?
No, because you think about a traditional changeup grip, and you usually will use your last 3 fingers, right? So from your middle to your pinky, and then nothing changes, just the way that he throws it. So he'll actually sit there.
So even with a traditional grip, he can make it cut like that.
He just cut. It's pretty fascinating pitch, and even though it looks like a slider, think about this: the slider rotates forward, the changeup rotates the other way. So that's why it's even funkier and tougher to pick up for a lot of hitters, right? You have backspin on a changeup, you have topspin on a slider. So even though it looks like a slider, the spin is actually going the other way. It's pretty incredible. See the domination against righties for Jose Leclerc this year. Has also done very good with inherited runners. He's allowed just 2 of the 12 that he has inherited to score.
I'm going to let you tell me what those pitches are.
Changeup. It's great.
I mean, that is amazing.
It's totally understandable too. And you know, you and I talk about data where you can get it. There's so many different places that will do pitch classification, whether it be Fangraphs or Inside Edge, Brooks Baseball. We have so many great resources, StatCast, and even for a normal pitcher, they're all over the place. There's not a lot of consistency. It's tough to do. He is the guy that really messes people up pretty badly.
And the hitters.
And the hitters, yeah. He's been great against them this year, especially those righties.
Did he go? Lucroy thought that he did, and he's right. First base umpire and crew chief Paul Emmel says that Bonifacio went too far, so Leclerc bails out Hamels in the bottom of the 8th, and we have no score to the 9th. No score, ninth inning. Jonathan Lucroy fists one out into right field. Lucroy is the Rangers' number 8 hitter, but that is the 3rd time he has led off an inning. And Jeff Bannister right away will go to his bench, and Joey Gallo is going to run for Lucroy. And for the Texas Rangers, that's just the 2nd time tonight they've had their leadoff man on.
And Joey Gallo, Danny Duffy tried to tie Jonathan Lucroy up and in, and he did. Similar base hit that we saw from Carlos Gomez, where he made his pitch, but a right-handed hitter in that Texas Rangers lineup was able to hit that ball into the outfield just enough. And I know we don't have any data on this, but Joey Gallo's got to be pretty close to one of the biggest pinch runners we've ever seen, I assume.
You don't expect a guy like that to come off the bench. Ball 1 on Delino to Shields. He's had 2 good at-bats against Duffy so far tonight. He is 0 for 2, but he is lined to left, and he hit a rocket on 1 hop to Mike Moustakas in his last at-bat in the 6th inning. He's had 2 good swings, both times pulling the ball against Duffy. Bunted in the air, and that's back into the netting. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And as much as there's so much talk surrounding sacrifice bunts or bunting in general, whether or not it makes sense, you think about a game like this, it makes total sense, right? You're having a hard time even getting runners in scoring position. Delino to Shields is a good bunter. He can also turn that bunt into a hit. He's going to put some pressure on the defense, even though the Royals are very good in that regard. And also the idea of maybe trying to get somebody to throw a ball away, rush a throw, whatever it may be. He's the perfect candidate in the right situation.
Slide step, the bunt is down. Duffy fields and throws a strike over to Hosmer. And DeShields gets the job done. He gets Gallo into scoring position with 1 out. MLB on FS1 is sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. And by the Hartford. When the unexpected strikes, the Hartford strikes back with small business insurance. That is beautiful Union Station, Kansas City, Missouri, Crown Center. Where the Royals had their World Series celebration parade back in 2015. Shin-Soo Choo becomes a very dangerous hitter. He is 0 for 3 tonight, and he is 0 for 8 in the series. Up the left field line, that is fair, just inside the line. So a bloop to right to get a man on, a bunt and a bloop to left, and the first run of the game comes with 1 out in the top of the 9th inning.
This feels like some 1980s baseball. I mean, think about how this inning started off. The jam shot from Jonathan Lucroy, the sacrifice bunt, and here lefty on lefty changeup it looked like, and it stayed up, and Choo did not hit it all that hard, but he did exactly what he had to do, was get that ball in the outfield. As you see the pinch runner Joey Gallo coming around to score, and that's going to be it for Danny Duffy.
Duffy salutes the home plate umpire Quinn Wolcott, and now the crowd salutes him. run allowed in 8 1/3 innings, and you're on your way to a win. But Danny Duffy tonight, the best he can hope for is a no decision, as the Texas Rangers get an RBI single from Shin-Soo Choo, singling up the left field line and driving in Joey Gallo. And now the Royals go to their closer, Kelvin Herrera, with a runner at first and 1 out. Ball 1-2 Elvis Andrus.
Take a look at the numbers here for Herrera on the season, getting that opportunity now to close with Wade Davis being shipped off to the Chicago Cubs. And when he was the 7th inning guy here for so long, he could have been a closer for most teams, and so he has slowly slid up the ranks, and now he becomes the 9th inning guy, and he's done a very nice job. Big fastball, a little bit of a different look here than what we saw from Danny Duffy. Averaging this year 98 miles an hour. You'll see a slider and a changeup as well from Herrera. One of those guys that really surprises you when you see the plus stuff, and not a good strikeout rate, but not one of these crazy strikeout rates where it's 12, 13, 14 per 9. He's actually at 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's kind of been like that for the most part. And you always wonder when you see a guy with such high velocity, why is that the case? Are they seeing the ball well? Still very respectable at what he's doing, and the walk rate is great as well, 2.1. But I think it's because of that right there. 98 at the knees. Pitchers are conditioned to pitch down, but that's not necessarily a strikeout pitch. It's a good pitch. It's a tough pitch to hit. So you think about strikeouts, we had a conversation a lot with Matt Bush this year. Elevated the fastball above the zone. That's where you can really use a plus fastball to get strikeouts.
2-2 on Andrus. Not many breaking balls come in at 90 miles an hour. Andrus is down on strikes and now 2 away.
Well, that's a pretty nice combination after we saw 98 at the knees and then 90 with some pretty good depth to it. It's 8 miles an hour difference on that slider, but that is tight and that is late with good velocity.
This is hardly just getting some work in for a closer, but it is a non-save situation. Game is on the line right here, and Kelvin Herrera, for whatever reason, has really fought it this year in non-save situations. And the good ones, that's usually the case. They're at their best in a save situation. They're vulnerable in a non-save situation. But for Herrera, there's just a huge gap in his ERA.
And it drives fans crazy, and it drives managers crazy and pitching coaches, but there's validity to it. And when you become the guy and you're all about finishing out a game up by 3 or less, and you're going to be getting that last out, that 27th out, there's a different kind of adrenaline. There just is, and you can't fake it. You can't say, well, let me just pretend this is a safe situation, even though we're up by 8, right, and I'm just getting an inning of work, or I'm coming in a game in which we're already down. It's just guys try to figure out ways to get around it, but there is just something about once you have been the guy, the closer, and you're always getting the ball in safe situations, the adrenaline is just down a tick a little bit, and sometimes that can really affect those guys.
Beltre jammed and fouls it away.
Well, you see it there, an empty Ranger bullpen, so that means Jose Leclerc will head back out for the 9th inning, get an opportunity to close things here. There is no named closer right now for the Texas Rangers. It is closer by committee, so it will not be a 5-pitch win for Jose Leclerc. He's going to have to earn it to head back out there in the 9th.
Don't see many swings like that by Beltre, who's always having fun. He wanted an appeal on that swing. Rangers take the lead on Choo's RBI single. Did you see? Have won 11 straight against the Kansas City Royals after taking game 1 of the series last night 5-3. And now they have a 1-0 lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Jose Leclerc will stay in, and Robinson Chirinos will call the bottom of the 9th, as the Royals will send up Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, and Salvador Perez. Down and away, ball 1 to Cain. He is 1 for 3 with a 6th inning single. Cole Hamels went 7 2/3, allowing no runs on 4 hits. Leclerc got the final out of the 8th inning.
So even though Leclerc technically would not get a save, it's not a save situation for him. Right when he came in the game, it was a tied game with the runner on second base. So no save here, even though this is about as tough as it gets when you think about trying to go through the middle of the Kansas City Royals order. 3-4-5 in a 1-0 game. He's actually pitching for his own win right here.
Way outside, 3 balls and no strikes. Well, you said it, CJ, last inning. The Rangers right now are closer by committee. The Rangers have 14 saves. That's Alex Claudio warming up in the right field bullpen. 14 saves, 17 blown saves. So they have 3 more blown saves than actual saves. And 5 times this year they have had a lead in the 9th inning and have lost. That's the most in the major leagues.
It's been a rough go, but the Yankees just passed the Rangers with the most blown saves in baseball. They've had some issues with some of their big arms, but it's been a problem. Sam Dyson, of course, was the closer to start the season here. Matt Bush had an opportunity to close. He has since been removed from that role, and so they're going to try to piece this thing together as you see what the Rangers have done over their last 5.
So a 4-pitch walk to Lorenzo Cain, and now left-hand hitting Eric Hosmer coming up, and Jeff Bannister is out of the third base dugout. It'll be Alex Claudio. The Royals have their leadoff man on. It's Lorenzo Cain with a 4-pitch walk against Jose Leclerc. And now Alex Claudio, who closed out the game last night, getting Hosmer, Perez, and Moustakas, and that's who's coming up against him here in the 9th inning.
We'll get another opportunity to do it. And Alex Claudio has been so important to this Texas Rangers bullpen. He does not go very hard. He's a side armor. He's got an excellent changeup. He's done a very nice job against lefties this year, just a 143 batting average against. But what sticks out most about Alex Claudio, 12.9 pitches per inning coming out of the bullpen as a reliever. We've only seen 9 relievers do that in the history of our game since it started, where they've been under 13 pitches per inning pitch. He is very efficient.
And a pretty good move over to first base. Kane had to scramble back. And Lorenzo Cain turns to Royals first base coach Rusty Kuntz to go over Claudio's move again.
He is a contact pitcher. Weak contact is the name of the game for Alex Claudio. Just 6.2 strikeouts per 9, but he's also sub-2 on his walk rate.
86 with his fastball, but that could be in the mid-60s sometimes with his changeup, right?
His changeup is unbelievable, and he's not afraid to throw it to lefties either. Over the course of the season, the Rangers have seen him strike out some pretty good lefties like Bryce Harper, Lucas Duda, looking at 0-2 pitches, swinging, flailing through them because they're just not used to seeing not only a lefty on lefty changeup, but from that funky angle that he comes from.
And now it's 2-0 on Hosmer, so Rangers relievers have thrown 6 consecutive pitches out of the strike zone in this bottom of the 9th inning. Last night, Claudio got Hosmer to pop out to short to begin the bottom of the 9th.
And even though he's behind in the count, a lot of times when you have guys with this kind of stuff, behind the count plays pretty well if they can get an aggressive hitter because of the movement. We've just seen that fastball, and Claudio has done a good job. 8 double plays that he has induced this year coming out of the bullpen. That is the most for Texas Rangers relievers.
And if you're wondering about a stolen base, Lorenzo Cain is 15 out of 15 this year, but opponents have attempted 1 stolen base in Alex Claudio's entire career, and that was 3 years ago. Jeff Bannister has been sweating out the 9th inning all season long.
Well, certainly not what he wanted to see, and this is the downside when you have to go closer by committee. When you don't have that one big arm, you try to piece it together, and sometimes that means you're a little bit more on edge as a manager.
Got the call over the inside. 3-1 on Hosmer. He is 0 for 3 so far tonight, trying to at least tie the game or set up the Royals tying the game in the bottom of the 9th inning. That's the team perspective. Personally, he's trying to extend the longest current hitting streak in the major leagues. He has a 16-gamer. He is 1 for 4 in his career against Claudio. And now it's 3-2. Claudio's made 2 really good pitchers pitches being behind in the count.
And this gets interesting because it's now been all fastball so far in this at bat. He's got a slider, and I mentioned the changeup as well, that he has used both of those pitches effectively against left-handed hitters. But you're talking about if you go to an off-speed pitch and you walk Eric Hosmer, now putting the tying run at second base and nobody out. Big pitch here for Alex Claudio.
Cain makes a move trying to distract Claudio, and he comes back and strikes out Eric Hosmer after falling behind 3-0, and he stayed with the fastball.
And he did, and that was the smart play. And you're going to look at exactly where Robinson Chirinos was set up. He wanted that ball in. It ended up going away a little bit, but certainly in the strike zone. Eric Hosmer goes after it and misses it. That's a big sigh of relief for Alex Claudio. A very huge first out.
I am not big into predictions, but I am going to predict to you, CJ Nitkowski, that Salvador Perez will not see 3 consecutive fastballs from Claudio in this at-bat.
Or strikes, maybe, potentially will be. And that's probably what that conversation was between Robinson Chirinos and Alex Claudio. Understanding, yes, Salvador Perez very aggressive. How do we want to go after him? And most likely, I'm thinking at some point he's going to see a changeup.
Perez is trying to get a bug out from in between Him and Claudio 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts against Cole Hamels, who went 7 2/3 scoreless. Cain's at first. He's the responsibility of Jose Leclerc. Outside to Perez, 1 ball and no strikes.
The other thing is Alex Claudio has done so well. I mentioned he's so efficient. The lowest pitches per innings pitch of any reliever in Major League Baseball. He also has the second best ground ball rate at 73%. So that's why he is good in these spots. Even if he falls behind the count, if he can locate the 2-seam fastball down, the changeup down and away, especially against Salvador Perez, this is a good opportunity for him to get that double play.
There's the ground ball. And that is the 14th time that Salvador Perez has grounded into a double play this year. So it wasn't easy, but the Texas Rangers bullpen, who has really struggled this year, they get the job done in the bottom of the 9th inning, working around a leadoff walk to Lorenzo Cain. And Cole Hamels, Jose Leclerc, and Alex Claudio combined for a 4-hit shutout.
Right on time, a very well located 2-seam fastball down and away, right back to Alex Claudio. He did a nice job of shuffling his feet, giving Rougned Odor time to get over to second base, and he comes through once again. The slowest thrower in that Ranger bullpen, very easily the most valuable arm in that bullpen for Jeff Bannister so far this season.
For director Dave Burchett, for producer Mike Dressman, and for CJ Nitkowski, this is Ryan Lefevre. Thanks for watching. Our final score from Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City: the Texas Rangers 1 and the Royals 0.